Let's get it going this morning. Uh, things that we were watching this morning. Um, NBEV popped up a little bit earlier this morning, and it was looking all right, but it's kind of just moving sideways now. CANF. I took a trade on this in my other account. Looks like it's doing pretty well, but having a hard time breaking over $4. I still think that it definitely be one to watch. It's popping up. CLRB popped up. It's pulled back now. SSY. Let's check it. Popped up and pulled back. Nice volume though. So might also be one to watch. Yes, just coming right now. So US coming up on decent volume, looking alright. Maybe try to take a trade on this. If we get some more volume coming in, we need some more buyers. Right now it's dipping a little bit. See how this 1 minute candle shakes out. It's already up 20%, 25%. So not that high right now. Still definitely got room to move, but looks like it's pulling back a little bit too much on the daily. On the daily, it's been above this level for the past few months. So we might see a little bit of selling coming up. So I'll give this one a little bit more time. See what it ends up doing. But right now it's like pulled back below VWAP, so probably not gonna buy it. And CANF still kind of just chilling where it's at. I think for CANF, maybe now if it comes up over 80 cents, $3.80, then I'll buy it. Expecting to break over $4. Give it some time. 2 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. High of the 5-minute is $3.70. So if we stay below it and then we can't come up above that level, then we'll buy in that price range. A bus volume falling off a little bit. Still holding, just about around VWAP, just below it. So not really one I'm going to take a buy on unless it starts coming back up on better volume. Really other stuff this morning. I took a trade on CLRB. Made a few bucks on. I think CLRB is kind of dropping off. I took a trade on it coming into 7 o'clock. Like as it broke after this 1 minute red candle, as it broke up through 240. So, a decent trade on that. But it's just kind of fallen off completely at this point. It's completely dropped off now, so unfortunate. Probably not one we're going to continue watching. SVRA was up today, but it's also dropped off significantly. I don't think that's really going to be take it off the list just so we can make the list a little bit smaller. Yeah, so I'm just gonna watch for right now. Not really too much going on. We saw yesterday a lot of initial momentum on stocks when they were popping up, but not a ton of follow through, I'd say. Um, just had a stock up for 70% in the first candle. Don't know what this one. Uh, Contract for Streamline Health Evaluator. But came up 70% on 40,000 shares of volume, so that's pretty light volume for the move that it made. And not really too unexpected that it's pretty much pulling the entire thing back right now. So we can keep an eye on this one, but it's not looking too great. CANF now below VWAP. Hoping maybe this next 5-minute candle, it could put in a move back up through 370, but not looking too. Decreasing volume, after these initial pushes up, which is good to see. So unlike all of the red candles, we have decreasing volume. So I assume when this turns around that it will actually make a good move. I'll keep an eye out on that one. 370 is the level that we really care about. If this 5-minute candle closes red again, then I guess the break over VWAP is going to be the one we're trying to watch. As long as it stays close to VWAP. And STRN, just kind of nothing. ABUS still down. I know ENTX popped up. Let's see what he's doing. Very, very light volume. Definitely not taking a trade on that. I think Ruby popped up yesterday. Yeah. This happened while I was at work. God, it went crazy. So, 7:30 it dropped quite a bit. 7:45 was at $12, and then by 10:15 it was at nearly $40. So pretty crazy move on Ruby yesterday. I didn't really keep track of a whole lot of the other movers during the day yesterday. The scanners that I have set up, actually, there was a bug in one of the scanners that I was running, so it killed all of my stuff halfway through the day yesterday. But I fixed that, so hopefully that will not happen again. Yeah, for right now, I mean, ABUS was one that we were gonna watch, but now it's pulled back so much. I don't know if there's really much value in keeping an eye on it. Also, just so little volume coming into it. Check out GME. CANF on this other one. Yeah, so CANF still close to its high of day. So I expect this could make a move back up. So we're waiting for a good 5-minute setup on it before we buy anything. On the daily, check out CANF daily. So we're above all of the recent resistance for CANF. A lot of red days here where it pushed up and then pulled back, so we should watch out for that. But it looks like it's holding pretty well right now, just below $4. But just something to be careful of. Back here, we see several points of resistance at $4, which is kind of what we encountered pushing into it. And then the next big point is coming up into $5. There's some other things scattered throughout here, somewhere around $4.50. So just some levels we should be aware of recent resistance. And then back here, much higher price stock, so really we need to work through some of these more recent levels of resistance before we move back up to those previous ones. And GameStop has just been steadily downtrending since yesterday. Thing made a giant dip. People bought it back up. 5-minute. So, kind of moving sideways. Huge dip, $50 move down. Bought it back up $40, and then it just trended down the rest of the day. Quite unfortunate. So we'll see if this rallies today or if this is the end of the GameStop train. Be quite unfortunate to see it end, but it's had a good run, obviously. We'll see what happens with it. But I mean, the fact that it's holding near $200 as we're coming into the open today is just, I'd say it's not spectacular. All it's going to take is a couple people selling off their positions to get it to, push below $200. And then if it's below $200, I expect there's going to be a lot of other people trying to sell their positions if they're holding from, much higher. Which is kind of what we saw in, when it had this huge dip here this day. It hit 350, and then all of a sudden it started selling off. Got down to like 300, and then all of a sudden it was just like everyone was selling off their position. Went from 300 to 180, halting 3 times in a row over the course of 20 minutes. Brutal drop. So we could be in for something like that today if it starts dropping below 200 and people are trying to get out. So if you got shares to short, you want to consider it. Coming into 7:45. Really too much to watch right now. CANF unfortunately has pulled back even further, so I doubt we're gonna get a setup on this until a little later. Now the 5-minute on this would be, upwards of 350. So gotta wait until it comes back up. And it sold off, at least on the 1 minute, on fairly high volume on this red candle, which you don't want to see. Now, few highest volume candles of the day have been red candles. At least on the 1 minute. I'll wait to see if it comes back up, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. What else is going on? How's the market overall? Let's check out SPY. So we're at all-time highs still. Yeah, it looks like it's pushing. Maybe we're gonna move up to 400 today. Looking really, really good. So the fact that the overall market looks like it's doing very well is a good sign for us. Hopefully that means that people have the confidence to buy in some of these stocks that are popping up in the morning. CANF in a little bit of an uptick here on the 1 minute. See if it can actually hold up. If we get a 5-minute setup, I'll buy into it, but until then we're just waiting. Tesla doing okay. It's having some issues. Dropped down to close to 500 down here, but has rallied spectacularly. And I mean, I think this is essentially directly correlated to the way the market was doing, because I think once the market started recovering, Tesla also started recovering. Be expected. We'll see it track pretty closely to how the overall market's doing at this point, I think. And there are a bunch of stocks like that, obviously. A lot of the bigger stocks or more popular stocks pretty much directly track to the way the market's going unless there's specific news out on them. I still think that the overall market's a little high right now. It's just I find it just crazy that even through all of this pandemic and stuff, it's literally just been a straight line up. So I would think at some point we'd have to see a little bit of a bigger dip than some of these other dips that we've had. Well, I guess we'll see. NF coming up a little bit, coming up above 350 right now. Take a quick look at this. On the 1 minute. So I guess this is technically here a 5-minute setup. We have some increasing volume coming into it. So if our 5-minute candle is holding above 350, we're looking pretty good here. But still, we'd like to see more volume coming in. It's unfortunately light volume. So I'm going to give this a second, see if we can get this volume back, or, if we come down, put another few maybe red 1-minute candles, and then maybe we'll push up. On a 5-minute breakout like this, I would have liked to have seen it just, push right above. But the 1-minute volume is like essentially nothing. It's the lowest candles that we've had, lowest volume candles we've had in quite a while, at least 10 minutes probably. Yeah, we'll probably just have to wait a little bit longer to get some more buyers into this. Seems like there's not too much going on at the moment. What's the news that it came up on? Distribution deal. Another bio stock. Distribution of. I don't think it says specifically what the distribution deal is for, but just a random distribution deal for $42.7 million. For a lower price stock like this and a lower float stock, I mean that's quite a lot of money. 15 million share float, and when the news came out, it was at close to $2. So market cap of the stock was only about $30 million at the time. They signed a $42.7 million distribution deal. It would make sense that their stock went up significantly. We have GameStop breaking below 200 right now, breaking below this previous 198 level that it had tapped off of. So I don't know. I would expect this to go down. I think people are going to start selling off when they start seeing the drop. I've said this before, but it's like, people have bought in at 350, 300, held it all the way down to $40, rode it back up to above $200, and it's like, I don't think people are going to be willing to hold through a second drop like that, especially because, I feel like enthusiasm kind of dies out on stocks like this, especially if it is true that these shorts have actually covered. So I know I've seen people talking about that online, that the majority of the shorts have covered at this point. I don't know if that's actually true, but I can see if people start believing that it's going to drive the stock price down. Quite unfortunate. But, there are always other stocks that are popping up. We just gotta wait for them. Morning, we've had a few stocks that popped up 100%. CANF, one of these ones that I was just talking about, came up from $2 all the way up to $4. I took a few trades on it in my other account. I bought it coming up through 350. It pretty much popped up to 3 like immediately. So I had to wait for like that first 1-minute pullback here, and then as it pushed back up through 340. And ended up making $30 on it. So a decent trade. Unfortunately, when stuff pops up so strongly in the first tick, it's already moved up like 75% within the first 30 seconds the news comes out, and we can't catch it that fast. By the time we see the stock coming up, the bots have already bought up a ton of it. So unfortunately, because we can't catch it that early, we kind of have to buy it um, a little bit higher and hope for a continuation of the move that the bots started as they're buying on news. And sometimes we get it and sometimes we don't. That's why it's good to wait for a pullback. So you can kind of wait until it comes down lower. It pushed up to 340. It pulled back down all the way to 320 down here. And then as we're sitting down at 320, you can kind of judge from the volume coming in, and as it's pushing up back towards 340, if it's strong, and then as you buy through 340, if it breaks through and it kind of just doesn't really do much and doesn't really break through, only breaks through by like a couple cents and then just kind of stops, then you know that maybe there isn't the momentum to move it up. And if it breaks through and makes a decent move, like this one broke through 340 and nearly immediately moved up to 380, then you can already be holding your shares down maybe below 340 and have a good cost basis for this trade. And you know that it has at least a little momentum because it made a nice breakout on the first 1 minute candle here. Just have to be careful when these are coming up. It's very unsafe to buy into the initial strength because stuff like ABUS will happen. So it's popping up. If you buy in this, this green candle started essentially where the previous green candle left off, pushed up to 474. So if you're buying here, and you're like, all right, so put in a second green candle, I'll buy it, 465, 470, pushes up, immediately stops, and then turns around on you and drops 35 cents. So you don't want to get caught in stuff like that. Better to wait for it to do its initial move, get a little bit of a pullback, then as it's coming back up through the highs, then you could buy. Or you can wait, maybe if it's a little bit more of a pullback, sometimes it drops below VWAP, puts in a few candles, and then comes back up, makes a little cup formation. Then you can buy going into that. But you really don't want to buy into this initial strength. Sometimes I'll do it if it seems like it's really, really strong. Like if it puts in like 2 green candles in a row in a 1 minute and it just like keeps moving up, or if it pops up on news and I catch it when it's the scanner catches it at like when it's up 40% or something, right? Then you start looking at it, all of a sudden it's up 45%, 50%, 55%. It seems like it's still pushing, and the volume is like overwhelmingly green. Might be worth it to try to take like a smaller trade on it to just ride the momentum until you start seeing it turn around a bit, and then you could sell off and then look for a proper setup as it comes back down. Just definitely better to be careful on stuff like this. I'd rather wait and miss a movement, like a move on a bad setup, and I'd rather wait, even though I missed the move, if there wasn't a proper setup for it. I have no way of knowing that it's any more likely than just like flipping a coin. I'd rather just wait, miss that move, and wait for like a good setup has a much higher likelihood of resolving. CANF, as we were talking over here, did put in kind of a red 5 minute candle, little tiny one, and then pushed up above 350. Things moving real slow for a 15 million share float, making very, very tiny moves on the 5 minute. This 5 minute range was like not even 10 cents. So I'm gonna wait until I see more volume coming into this. And then maybe break one of these previous 5 minute levels, like 370, double top there. Just coming over 375, that's pushing up to 380. Probably wait until we see something a little better. Yeah, 5 minutes until 8 o'clock. I don't think we're going to see anything really making moves until now, or from now until 8 o'clock. I'm hoping 8 o'clock maybe we'll see some stuff pop up on news. Gotta chill out for the time being. Stop. Came down to 195, but back up to 200. Interested to see what this does today. I feel like it still could go up. Where people are still definitely willing to buy it. It's just it's been so weak between yesterday and pre-market today that people might be scared. And as we come to 9 o'clock, we might see some selling off. I'll try to take a trade on it. We'll see what happens with it. This might also be like, great dip opportunity if we see momentum coming back into it. I would say that this chart doesn't look spectacular. A huge, huge wick and tail on this candle, all the way up to 350, all the way down to 175. And then it kind of consolidated in the middle of the candle, which is what you want to see. You want to see this consolidation, putting in a little bit of a wedge pattern. But unfortunately, when it broke down out of the consolidation, yeah, it just continued. So we would have liked to have seen this break up through the consolidation past 295, and then we might have gotten a move back up toward. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen. So it still has the ability to come back up, but I would say, as far as technicals go, this is not a good-looking pattern. And this is just. So this is what you see on the daily here. It's inside this candle. A little bit of consolidation on like the 4-hour. It looks significant. See? So it's a big candle, consolidation, and then breakdown. So yeah, this breakdown down here, now that it's below 200, this is looking rough. If we were going to see a rally, I would have expected it yesterday, as it broke down, and then I would have wanted to see it get bought back up and then try to come back up over 300. But sold off, and then the next few candles confirmed that sell-off. It is not looking good. The ANF looks like it's still trying to go up a bit. Like I said, kind of struggling, making very, very small moves, even on like the 5-minute chart. This last candle opened at 350 and closed at 354. A 5-minute candle. Essentially, no strength coming into it, which is unfortunate to see. Pretty much everything else that popped up is. Just got HT popped up. No news or anything though. I don't know why it popped up. Popped up on very light volume as well. Keep an eye on it just in case someone knows something that we don't. As we're coming to 8 o'clock. CANF also one to watch coming into 8 o'clock. Might get some more volume coming into it. I have on a watch list. I don't know if I checked ANCN. ANCN popped up earlier today. Yeah. So aftermarket yesterday went crazy. Oh, another merger, yes. This thing came up on a merger last night in aftermarket. Went from $4 all the way up to nearly 10, but it's way back down now. So if we were gonna take a trade on this, it'd have to come back up probably over 6.8. Definitely at least through VWAP, before we actually have a good setup on that. We're coming at 8 o'clock now. 50 seconds to 8. Eye on some. Let's see if we get any Get any momentum coming into GME, see if we get some buying coming into CANF. I hope we get some volume coming back into CANF. And also, keep an eye on the scanners. See if anything pops up on news coming into 8 o'clock. CANF on my active trading window, just in case I want to take a trade on it. IMMP just came up. Very light volume. ESCW just popped up. Also fairly light volume and a very low price stock. Looks like pretty much all of the buying happened. I have a feeling this looks like bots to me. Whole bunch of buying happened, absolutely no follow through at all. No additional buying, no additional selling, and they were all bought in pretty large chunks. Drop back down now. V. So just checking everything that's popping up on the scanners. See if we can get some continuation on anything. PRV, so 15 million share float, 100,000 shares in the first candle, but this next candle is just pulling it all back. Also, it hasn't really moved up too much. We're gonna have to wait to see if that comes back anymore, comes up anymore. CSCW still just kind of chilling at the moment. Definitely gonna need more volume before we're gonna think about taking any trades on that. MMP. NF back up over. Yeah, so let's put it back. Your CanF, really no additional volume at 8. Maybe looks like a tiny bit on the 1 minute, but still just kind of moving sideways. Not doing anything really. Now the 5 minute setup would be the break above $3.67. So we'll watch for that, but the way that it's trading is not giving me much hope, to be honest with you. And CSCW still popping up a tiny bit, but on like super light. For such a low price stock, you know, if I was going to take a trade on this, I would need to be trading hundreds of thousands of shares of volume every minute. You know, even a stock that's up here near $4 like CanF, this thing's still putting in over 200,000 shares of volume pretty much every minute. And lower price stocks should be trading much higher volume. CanF seems like it's a little bit of a red move in right now. Still green candles, highest volume of the day, barely. Decreasing volume on all these 5 minute candles. At least as far as volume goes and technicals, we're still looking okay. I mean, this thing made a little bit of a breakdown. So, you know, this red candle back here tapped $3.40. We then put in this candle here that tapped $3.36. So a little bit of a breakdown, but immediately got bought back up. This last 1 minute candle now putting a little bit of a pullback in as well, coming down to $3.50. So not really too much to watch at the moment. A little bit of a slow morning after yesterday. I was hoping we'd see some more momentum like we did. Like usually Monday kind of sets the tone for the rest of the week, and looking really nice yesterday. A bunch of the stocks that came up though kind of did, you know, they came up very strongly at first, and they did fall off, which is not really what you want to see. And maybe that's the reason people are being a little bit more cautious today. last week was really nice. Yesterday was pretty good, and I said earlier in the stream, I mean, as far as the S&P goes, we're at all-time highs right now. Market is fully recovered from the little bit of a dip that it had. So I think we should be good. So, back here was like the start of, pretty much the start of last week. We were at 370 on the SPY. Had pulled back quite a bit from the all-time high, more than $20, but obviously we started recovering, and now we have breached the all-time highs, at least for the time being. So I would expect, I mean, with the market looking like this, I don't see any reason why people would be trying to buy stocks. And GME still holding low here. See on it more of these long-term charts. I don't know, dude. It's just, it had such a bad day yesterday. Just got absolutely picked. I don't know if there was like a reason for this. I mean, I don't see any news or anything. I think there's any news. Just people selling off, I guess. I mean, it does have to end at some point, because I don't think anyone thinks that GameStop's actually worth, $200 a share right now. Hoping it'll hold on a little bit longer, maybe make it a little bit of a move. And unfortunately, it's very weak this week. I think going into the open, maybe we might see a slight rebound. But if we don't see a slight rebound, I think this thing's just going to tank. It's holding below 200 pretty solidly at the moment. Not really much to do here. CANF coming back up a tiny bit. Just broke over this 367 level and coming in at higher volume. Actually, really nice volume on this 1 minute. I don't know about that. So we saw a lot of, ton of volume on this candle. Unfortunately, it didn't really move it very much. So this candle, this 1 minute candle here made a move from 354 to 364 on 200,000 shares of volume. The next candle put in 600,000 shares of volume and made a smaller move. So I think as we're pushing up here, we're coming into a lot more selling. I mean, the volume's still looking really nice. See if we can get a setup on this. 5 minute candle ends in a minute. So, might want to, for this next 5 minute candle, let's see what happens. The kind of volume coming into it right now, I mean, it's looking really nice. I'll give it a second to shake out. So, over 600,000 shares traded. That first green candle, the second green candle, close to 500,000. So, it's the kind of volume we want to see coming into this. When we put in this next candle, if our 1 minute candle breaks up above 375, try to buy for the break over $4. Now on the 1 minute, yeah, 375 is the 1 minute breakout spot. So we start pushing up above 375. 375. I'm gonna buy a few shares here. See if we can get the push up through 380. 30 shares currently. Yeah, this shakes out. A lot of selling coming into higher levels. Cost base is 75. Cost base is just about where we want it to be. As we were to 375, we wanted to buy. Yeah, good. Still really nice volume. Fortunately, this one candle didn't really break out like I wanted it to. Probably gonna hold the stop pretty tight, so I think if we drop back down to 368, then we'll probably bail out. Otherwise, we're looking for this move back up through 4. Just broke over 380. Still nice volume coming in. That's all looking really good. Come up through 385, I'll buy a few more shares. Seem to be having a little bit of a hard time above 380. Give these candles a second to kind of reload. Dipping back down to 375. So yeah, this green candle is not really the kind of green candle that you want to see. Green candle with a big wick is not a good indicator. So now if it starts dropping from here, we'll keep the stop a little bit tighter. Back up 382. Really struggling over 382. It's fighting for every single cent right now. Let's see. Quite a big seller at 383. 20,000 shares. Quite a lot of it just got bought out there. 384, significantly less sellers. 385 looks like it has 25,000, 40,000 shares on it. So I think that's going to be, we're going to need someone to just buy the majority of it out. It's getting bought out right now. Good. Alright, so 385 was a big one to break over. Now if it dips a bit here, try to take a few more shares. Good though. Really good. Over 390 right now. So 398, previous pre-market high. That's the level we're looking at breaking. And as we break up through 4, that's probably where our first profit target is going to be. Down a little bit. Let's see if I can buy a few more shares. Cost basis is 380 now. Bailout point probably for this candle is going to be like 371, 370. And as we push up through 4, I want to buy some more shares as we're coming up into that level. Volume, I mean this candle right here is the highest volume candle so far. 1 minute. We're looking very good there. Quite a lot of selling right now. Give this a chance to recover. Try to buy a few more shares on the dip. So holding 70 shares now. Cost base is 381. Looking for the move up over. Now if we move back up to the, close to the high of days, 395, then we'll probably take off a few shares. Otherwise, yeah, we'll hold these down to 370. After there's two big green candles in a row, expect a little bit of a pullback, so not a super big deal. 815 just came, so kind of watching the scanners, but I don't see anything popping up immediately at 815. Looking all right there. Now when it comes above 386, we could even potentially buy some more shares, but I've added twice kind of high. I think I might hold off for the time being. See if we get the push back up closer to 4. Back up 390. Moving back up 391. Briefly tap 392 right now. So take off a few shares here as we push up to 394. We take a little bit of profit. Then I'll take a few more shares off once we get above $4. Seems to be struggling a bit up here. So if this puts in another green 5-minute candle, I mean this would be the third pretty big green 5-minute candle in a row. So I think near the end of this 5-minute candle, we might want to consider taking off some more shares, depending on where we are. But it tapped 395 and it's pulled back a bit. The pre-market high is 398, so we're getting close to that level. Like I said before, if we break over $4, we want to take off some more. Definitely trading in a very tight range. Yeah. A lot of these 1-minute candles are between the lows and the highs, or maybe 3 or 4 cents. Definitely quite slow. Struggling a little bit up here at this level, so probably consider taking off another couple shares. Just in case we do get another dip. Now we'd like it to stay above 380. A bit more selling. So once it double topped 395, I took off some more shares because I figured something like this might potentially happen. Get a little bit of a dip. So at least take the profit. I might have even, or I probably should have taken off even a few more shares. But take the profit we have there. Now if we move back down to 380, at least have some profit. Probably if we move down to 380 though, we'll have pretty break-even trade. Seems to be getting bought up well. Just dropped down to below, just dropped to 383. Got bought back up to 388. Looking pretty good there. As far as the 5-minute candle, this 5-minute candle is currently green. Gonna end in 1 minute. See how it ends. I think if this candle ends green and we don't get a move above 4, then there might be a little bit more selling off at the start of the next 5-minute candle. Just something to be aware of. Alright, pushing back up, looking stronger on this 1 minute. Big green volume coming in, pushing up 396, 397. See if we can hit that pre-market high at 398. I'm going to take off 10 more shares here as we push up. sold off 40 shares between 394 and 4 here. So 10 more shares as it pushes up through 4. Now I'm going to hold these 20 shares that I have and see what happens with this next candle. So this is the next 5-minute candle. Seems to be dropping quite a bit. See if it ends up holding it. So now we've put in 3 pretty big green candles in a row. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback here. If we drop below like 395, I'll probably sell off the remaining shares that I have. Sold off half there as we push down to 395. See if we hold up above it. So we're still holding. Good. But I would expect to see a bit more pullback here after these 3 green candles that came in a row. Really, really good volume on every single one of these 5-minute candles. The highest volume of the day in the last 3 5-minute candles. But as we're pushing down here, I'm gonna sell off the rest of my shares. I want there to be another little bit of a pullback before I buy back in. So we made like $10 on that trade, and we made the trade from, where do we start here? As it pushed above 375 up to $4. So it's really only like a 25-cent trade. And we ended up buying like 70 shares between 375 and 390. And then we sold them off between 394 and 403. So I would think with how little that this stock is moving, this is going to be one where you would need to take a pretty big share size, and you would need to wait a pretty long period of time. You know, like that trade that we just took was over the course of like nearly 15 minutes to make 25 cents on the stock. So, and it's really, I mean, it's really the best looking one today. Usually we'd want to see stuff with some more volatility. ENVB just popped up. 100,000 shares of volume on this first candle. Is there news? They have strategic transaction with another biotech company. It's a biotech company. Pretty much everything that we've seen in the last like 2 weeks have popped up and stayed strong have been biotech. But definitely one to watch out for right now. Keep CanF on the side here, and kind of like as I expected, CanF we sold off at coming down through 4 between 4 and 395 because I expected a bit of a pullback, and now it's pulled back to 386. So if it comes back up and makes another setup on the 5-minute, I'll definitely take a trade on it. But it definitely needed a pullback. It just put in a ton of green volume, 3 5-minute green candles in a row. So needed to chill for a second before buying volume came back into it. ENVB came up nearly 20%, but now pulled back a bit. Volume's good, but there's also a bunch of red volume for the daily. So on the daily last week, it had a high of $7, and it pulled it all the way back to $4.50. So I think that's why we're hitting this kind of $4.50 resistance here. But yeah, just no on this one. Like, I was looking at the volume on the daily, and I thought it said like 200 to 50,000, and I was like, there's no way it's possibly true that it only traded that much, but it's in millions. So it traded like nearly 250 million shares last week and ended red on it. So I'd say it's kind of one to be careful of, just because when it does pop up, it looks like it's pulling back all of its moves. So this one day back here in December, it made a really nice move, but then literally the day directly after, it moved back down to $6. So we might have like bag holders from back here in December, but we have to be careful of. This day had 250 million shares of volume traded, so I have to expect that there's people who are still holding from up here who are, waiting for an opportunity to sell off some of these shares that they got. So I would say I would be more careful on this one. But we'll see what it ends up doing. If its volume starts coming into it and it still looks really good, we'll definitely still take a trade on it. So CANF, the 1 minute spot to buy here was probably 390, 389 as it was coming up. This 5 minute candle, sort of, not really the 5 minute candle that we wanted to see, since it put in a move nearly as big as this previous green candle and also did it on almost the same amount of. So we would have liked to have seen that red candle to be on, maybe half the volume of what the previous green candle was on. Still not, the worst, but just not a great indicator of strength. The fact that it pulled back on such high volume. We got 4 minutes to 8:30. Maybe we'll get some stocks popping up on news here at 8:30. UB coming up a little bit, so on 1 minute the place to buy would have been 436, but I kind of want to wait for this to prove itself before I buy into it, since like I said, there's probably going to be a lot of resistance on the way up on this thing. It has been at such higher price, like even in the last week. What it does. Definitely a lot of volume on this one candle that just broke up through 450, so that's really good, seeing the increased volume. I'd like to see a little bit of momentum on, like maybe as it's pushing up closer to $5, if we get a pullback and then buy for the push through 5. But right now, this just isn't super appealing to me. It's struggling on these breakouts. You can see on this volume, a lot of red volume coming in as it's breaking through some of these levels. It's just not what we want to see. CANF pulling back again, back down to 386. Looks like this 5 minute candle. 5 minute candle's got 2 minutes left, but has quite the wick on it. So if this closes red with this wick, that's definitely not a good indicator. As long as it's holding above VWAP, once it makes a solid setup on the 5 minute, try taking the trade on it. CANF on the daily is above a lot of its more recent resistance levels. So some of these ones that we tapped out over here, so $4, obvious resistance. It tapped it a few times back here, and we're seeing it again here, having this similar resistance. It bounced off $4 and came back down. 450 also looked like some resistance back here, a little bit between 440 and 70, and then we'll see resistance coming up to 5. This one seems to be okay with holding some of its gains. It has big red days, but it also has nice green days as well that hold up. This highest volume day back here, over 10 million shares traded, and it ended red, so that's definitely not great. But much better than ENVB that we were. ENVB, I would say, from the way that the daily chart looks, I have a feeling that it's going to have a very difficult time holding some of these levels. We would need to have a ton of volume coming into it to kind of outweigh some of those people who are holding from much higher levels. So 8:30s in 20 seconds. And F See how this 5 minute candle closes out. As long as it's closing above 85, still looking okay. ENVB bounced against 465 twice now, so double topped off of it. We'll give this 1 minute candle breakthrough. Watching the scanners here at 8:30. So ENVB coming up nice with this volume at 8:30. A lot coming. We'll see if it can actually hold up. This is my problem with it. Every single time it breaks out, it breaks out and then immediate pullback, every single time. And I would expect this to start struggling more the higher it gets. But even so, it might have been worth it to buy it either off of VWAP or off of this 436 level. It's just for the bigger move. I don't love the way it's looking unless it comes up, like I said, maybe closer to 5, and then makes a little bit of a pullback and then gives like a 5 minute setup or something. SFET just popped up. Lower volume on the first candle. About on the daily, still below some of these previous days. Give it a second to see how it looks. Definitely increased volume on the second candle coming in, which is good. CANF 8:30 seems to have sold off a bit. Wait on that to see. Remove. SFE float on this. So really, really low float. 3 million shares. So I'm surprised with this level of volume that it's not moving a little bit better. So the obvious place to buy right now would be over 214. Take any shares on this? I just don't love the way a lot of these look recently, and just in the last couple weeks, the ones that we've seen that look like this have had the tendency to pull back. If you look at the daily chart here, previously within the last 3 weeks it was up at $3 and now has pulled back like completely, and really high volume on this day where it popped up and then completely pulled back the entire move. And every single time we've seen a stock that looks like this on the daily in the last 3 weeks, it's popped up a little bit. I've tried to buy into the strength on it, and then we see it pull back like almost immediately. So, trying not to get tricked by these stocks as much now that we've seen a trend coming with them. If we do see increased volume, start breaking above these previous highs, so within like the last 3 weeks, it was up past $3. So if we see it start moving up towards that $3 mark, maybe we'll buy for a breakout of $3. Because after we break out above $3, so it tapped it back here, 298. But previous to that, I mean, it's been nearly 9 months before, or actually longer than that. Yeah, probably exactly a year. It hasn't been as high as it in almost a year. So I would like to see it come up to that level. Take a trade on it. And as I said, you could see here what we've seen in the last few weeks pretty much happened again. If I take this breakout trade over 214, holding up to 240, I think the first price target, the price target probably would have been pushing up through 250 as it went through 250. And then the bailout point would have been below $2 on the. So we're trading off of the 1 minute chart here. So we would have come up. I mean, even if I had taken off like half the shares as I came up above to 240, it immediately pulled back and is below $2 now. So the trade would have been a wash. I'm trying to take better trades. Trying to take trades that that have all the indicators that look like they're pointing in the right direction. CANF, like I was saying earlier, on the daily chart, looks really nice. You know, it's above all of its recent highs. Now that we're up near $4, there's some resistance near the $4 mark back here. Like a Yeah, like just over a year ago. And then we'll hit some more resistance, you know, if we come back up. But really, these last resistant points are the ones that we're going to be worried about. And we got some coming into 4, so if we break up above 4, I think we have a pretty straight shot up towards 450. And then if we break above 450, I think we have a pretty straight shot up to $5. Now on the 5-minute, the breakout point's going to be $3.91. And if over here on my active trading window, GME pulling back even more. Big red candle coming into 8:30 on the 5-minute. Just dropped below 190. So I have a feeling this is kind of like what we're going to see today with GME. Unfortunately, it pulled back pretty much the entire day yesterday. Had one little rebound here, but the rebound just got eaten up throughout the rest of the day. And now pre-market, we're trending down again. And I mean, like, you know, if it was a stock that was like trading based on fundamentals and there's some reason why it dipped and it's still valued higher than it, I think that we'd see a rebound after such a dramatic change yesterday. But I just have a feeling with GME coming into today that people are going to get spooked. They're going to wake up and see it. It closed at 220 and it's down at 190 right now, so they're going to see it down, you know, like nearly $30, and they're going to want to pull out their positions. That's just what I think is going to happen with it today. AZRX just came up. Scanners. Decent volume. Lower price stock. Keep CANF over here. CANF probably right around its buying point right now for a buy on the 5-minute. But the volume's been really light, so I might wait to see if we get some better volume coming into it. Well, the volume's not really light. The volume is just considerably lighter than the last time it made a big move. So I might wait to see what happens with that. Trade on some more volume. But AZRX just popped up. Decent volume these last 2 minutes. You know, at this point, it's put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Putting 8 green candles in a row on the 1 minute. Maybe I'll wait for a pullback on this, see if we can get a decent setup, and then try to take a buy. Don't really. Yeah, so there was news on it at like 7 o'clock, but it only really started coming up. That also popped up at like 4 this morning, which is a little shady. That it popped up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they came out with news at 7. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with that. Probably will not be watching this one, to be honest. Slap GME over it. Yeah, so CANF, kind of why I'm like waiting on it. It took such high volume to make this move, and this move was only for the breakout above, you know, 370. It took, you know, more than twice, 3 times as much volume as it was previously trading with it for like the last like 20 minutes to bring it up about 30 cents. So unless volume starts coming back into it, I don't really want to take a trade on it because I mean, I'm just gonna buy shares and then I'm just gonna have to sit there. Like I'm gonna sit there for 20 minutes and it's gonna trade in the same 10-cent range. And it's not really not really what I want to do. I want to see some volume come in. And also, yeah, I mean, if the volume's not coming in, there's no good setups that look like it's going to go up. Then also, you know, it's sitting in the same 10-cent range and has just as high of a probability as breaking down as it does breaking up. It's not a trade that I want to make. It looks like it's pushing above this 394 level in it, which is good. So this is a new 5-minute. So this might be the time to take a trade on if we're going to take a trade on. So new 5-minute for the setup for the break over 394 here. Higher volume on this 1-minute. So I'm gonna take a few shares here, just a couple, as like a starter. See if we push up through 4, I'll buy some more shares. Yeah, for right now, I mean, I got 20 shares at 395, pushing up through 4 here. I'm gonna take 20 more shares, so I'm holding 40 shares now. A little high cost base, $3.98. So if we see it break down, below back to 390, I'll probably take off some of these shares pretty quickly. I'd like to see it hold up above $4. Alright, pushing back up. Just broke the pre-market high. Up. Here are my trading windows so you guys can see. So I got my 40 shares at 398. Like I said, if we do break and hold above this $4, I think we should be able to make a move up closer to $4.50. At least as far as resistance, that's where our next price target is looking like. Maybe $4.40, something like that. But I'd like to see us try to make a push back up there. And we've consolidated quite a bit, so we're not really extended. Still looking really good. 5-minute doesn't look extended either. We had 4 consolidation candles get put in on the 5-minute. So we should be ready to make this move. And if it starts coming back down, then I think that's kind of an indicator that not really going to make this move up, at least until maybe the open. Drop below 4, but no big deal. As long as we're getting bought back up on these dips, then still looking fine. Like I said, dropping down to 390 is probably going to be my bailout point. This thing, when it has been making moves, it's been making them. It's been pretty solidly trending. So when it's been going up, there really hasn't been a ton of pullbacks. So you can see back here on the 1-minute, it's moving up. Tiny little 1-minute candle pullback, moving up. Tiny little pullback. All of these pullbacks are really small. So we would expect to see something similar here. So if it starts pulling back really hard, then we'll bail out of the position. Last 2 red candles have been on lighter volume, which is good. So when we see the move back up, we want to see increased volume on this next green candle if it pushes through 4. I think this is kind of a good stock to just like practice trading on, just because it's moving very slowly. So there's not going to be that moment where all of a sudden you buy 40 shares and you're down 50 cents or something like that. All of the moves here have been pretty steady, I guess. Even on this big red candle back here, this huge red candle in comparison to the rest of the chart is only about a 10-cent pullback, and it did it over the course of a minute. So this is one where you can buy, you can make sure it gives you time, you look at the volume, you can look at the technicals. This 5-minute candle breakout still looks good. We would like it to hold above $4 here. If it closes above $4, then we're looking amazing. But even so, as long as we close above 395 here, we're still looking really good. We closed at 397, so stuff. We're pulling back. Hold it down to 390, but I would like to see this new 5-minute candle move up pretty quick. The 5-minute candle just started. Also 8:45, so have more time to watch the scanners here. Oh, pulling back now. Probably take off some of this as we push down. A lot of selling coming into the candle, which is quite unfortunate. Took off half the position as it pushed down to 390. See if this can bounce back up. Stop seems to be coming up a little bit. Sitting at 195 right now. Seems to be having a little bit of trouble staying up here. I thought once we broke over those pre-market highs, we were looking good for a move up, but selling off now. So sell off my position, putting in quite a few red candles in a row. So it looks like, we made a breakout, but the breakout didn't really hold. So we're going back into this, 5-minute consolidation. Happens sometimes. Lost like $3 off the top on that, $4 off the top. Definitely looking for a bigger move on that trade. $5-minute now. 5-minute break's going to be above about $4. If you want to buy off the 1-minute, now buying up over 392, going into 395 is the way to do it. But I'm probably not going to take a trade on that. Since we just had a false breakout in the 5-minute, and it rejected pretty hard, I think I'll just let this one chill for a second. Maybe as it gets closer to 9 o'clock, if we see more volume coming in, we'll take a trade on it. But I was really hopeful because we had really nice increasing volume on this candle. So that was why I ended up buying in above 395. And we did get a good move. It's just I was looking for a nicer move there. So I bought in at 395. The bailout point was if we drop below 390, which was the previous 5-minute candle low. And then I wanted to see this move back up closer, between 440 and 450, which on the daily chart looked like the next levels of resistance. Gotta stay true to your levels. If it drops below the levels that you're looking at, I sell it off. It's not good to hope a stock is going to go back up, because most of the time, if there's a certain level you're trying to sell off of, there's a reason, right? And other people are probably looking at that same level. So most of the time you see it bust through your level and then you're like, oh, give it a second, see what happens, and then it drops another 10 cents, and then all of a sudden your loss is much greater than what you expected it to be. Nothing's popped up on the scanners in quite a while, over 10 minutes now. Nothing really good has popped up since ENVB, which I think was back even before 8:30, maybe 8:15. I think at this point, besides CANF, there really isn't a whole lot to be watching this. Everything's pretty much pulled back. The charts, I got GameStop up there. It seems like it's maybe making a little bit of a recovery coming into 9 o'clock. ENVB, this is the one that it pulled back, broke out again, pulled back, broke out again. This is the one that when I looked at the daily chart, it seemed like it was below, its previous or its pretty recent highs. So I expected there to be a lot of resistance buying into some of these levels, and it seems like that did end up happening. If this thing started moving up on increasing volume and it kept making good breakouts, then maybe I'd take a buy on it as it's coming into one of these you know stronger levels of resistance. If we get a pullback below it and then we break up through it, unfortunately, this red candle was the highest volume candle of the day and still is. I don't think much is going to be happening with it, unfortunately. SFET, we're looking at a little bit. It's a similar thing. If you look at the daily, popped up to 240, but on the daily, somewhat recently, it was up even up to $3. So it's going to be rough buying into these levels when so many people are holding from this day that it dropped significantly. It's one of those things. Gotta watch out for those previous levels, looking at the daily chart, seeing if there were recent highs, seeing if those recent highs held well, if we're pushing up through it again. Because if there's a recent high with, in SFET's case, 20 million shares of volume traded on the day, and it ended $1 less than its high, there are people that are holding from the high. And they're just waiting for an opportunity to sell off. They see this thing move from $1.60 up to $2.40, and they just see an opportunity to cut their loss on the trade. If we don't, if you don't look at the daily and you don't see that, then you could be taking these trades. It's coming up through 215, buying, expecting a push through 250, and then all of a sudden it drops 30 cents. If you decide to hold and see what happens with it, which, like I said, you shouldn't really be doing, all of a sudden you're down 20 cents, 25 cents from where you bought in. It's just not good. And I believe that, there is money to be made on these. You're trading a strategy where you're just trying to buy in, and then as soon as it spikes up, selling off the shares that you bought in with. You definitely could have made money on this. You bought in coming up over 214, at 210, buying up into it, and you sold it as soon as it stopped up here and it looked like there was some resistance, or if you sold it on the way down for 15, 20 cent gain, then good for you. But it's not really what I'm trying to do. I think that's very difficult to do on Thinkorswim, just because of the execution speed and the way that you can only put in orders on the ask or on the bid, and you can't do like a through order. Because usually when you're buying up into these levels, if there's a lot of trading going into it, you try to buy into 214, slam in the ask, and you just don't get filled. And then all of a sudden it pops up to 240, and then if you don't cancel your order in time, it'll just slam back down to 214, fill your order, and then drop another 10 cents. And it's rough, dude. It's really rough. Definitely not the strategy. Definitely not the strategy I trade, but I believe that there are people who can make money on stocks that are popping up like that. So, like I said, CANF still holding above VWAP. It looks like it's just in a little bit of a longer 5-minute consolidation. This next 5-minute candle starts in a minute, coming into 9 o'clock. We'll see if this thing starts making a move back up. If it does start making a move back up, we'll try to take a trade on it. Buying into 397 is a little high. So maybe we'll take a 1-minute setup on this. MDGS just popped up on the scanners. Got news on it? What we got? There's news on it. News came out at 8:54, but like it's popped up and then sold off already. Another one where within the last month it had highs, pretty highs that were 80 cents higher than we're at right now, but a lot of resistance in this area. So you'd want to see this pop up. If it starts coming up, towards 350, this break above $3, and then makes a little bit of a pullback as we're trying to break through the high of, the like recent highs, then maybe we'll make a trade on it. But we're gonna have to wait on this one. And it looks like it's pulled back pretty much completely. So probably not gonna end up trade on it. So CANF 5-minute candle. Their low of the previous 5-minute candle is at 583. Hoping to see some volume coming into this, coming into 9 o'clock. I think CanF is going to be one of the ones to watch coming into the open. I also think GameStop is definitely going to be one to watch coming into the open. It seems to be coming back up a tiny bit, but this might just be like a bear flag or something. Come up a tiny bit. I could see this turning back around, but it's definitely going to be one to watch. If we come back, over 200, over 205, it hit here, had a little bit of resistance at it. We might get a move back up. So just missed the 1-minute breakout on CanF. I was looking at the GameStop chart. Decent volume coming in on the 1-minute. Five-minute breakout's going to be above 397, so we just broke above 397. Let's see if I can get a few shares coming down to 395. Filled here. Got filled for 10. Alright. So I got filled for 30 shares at 395. So looking for this next 1-minute candle to be the break over 4. And I'm kind of taking this trade. I already took one shot at this a little bit earlier on this push up through 407, but now we're coming into 9 o'clock. So expecting, so kind of as we come into 9 o'clock, I want to see if the volume is, buying volume or selling volume. And if we get a large increase in, buying volume coming into 9 o'clock, then we already have our position, and that's nice. And if we see everyone start selling off coming into 9 o'clock, then we'll just sell off our position, and we'll keep our stop tight, like a 5-cent loss or something like that. Having a little trouble breaking over $4. Be expected. Next 1-minute candle starting. What happens with this? We have a really big buyer at 398, which is good. So we're getting propped up a little bit at 398. Big seller at 399. 15,000 shares or something like that. It just broke down. The buyer at 398 just got blown through. Got another big buyer at 395, kind of holding us up. It's also getting sold into. See how this looks coming in 9 o'clock. But quite a lot of selling going into 395, unfortunately. Broke through down to 394. This 1-minute candle will kind of determine what's going to happen at 9 o'clock. Last 1-minute candle before 9 o'clock. And cost base is 395, and we're going to hold this down to 390. I like to see this 1-minute candle come back up. Not really a ton of resistance right now coming in at 396. Like 8,000 shares or something like that. hopefully we'll see some buying coming in. Significantly less volume on this previous 1 minute red candle. So just broke down through 394. So now we hit 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'm gonna sell shares. Seem to be off. Fortunately. Oh yeah. So one good trade on CanF, and now it's popping back up. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with it. But I didn't like the way that it was selling off coming into 9 o'clock. Sold the shares that I had. We'll see if it comes back up over the pre-market highs. We decide to take another trade on it, but for right now, I'm just gonna be chilling, watching it. Seemed to be quite a lot of resistance. We were coming up into $4 last time. But we'll see if we hit that again this time. Immediately broke through. See if it can hold up. In pretty good. Yeah, so the initial selling coming into 9 o'clock kind of spooked me a little bit. It looks like it's making a nice move right now. We'll see if it encounters some resistance coming up into this pre-market high like we've seen these last two times. So back here, 404 kind of sold off pretty hard going into it, and then again coming up into 407 sold off pretty hard going into it. I think if this holds up as we're coming into the open and there's significantly more volume coming into it, then I think it's going to do really well. Tap 407, bumping against the pre-market high. GameStop doing a little bit of a downturn again. 195 at the moment. CanF, I missed the opportunity for the trade. So just gotta watch it until it gives another buying opportunity. Needs to be selling off a little bit out of those pre-market highs, unfortunately. So yeah, this thing, it seems to just be having like a really hard time above $4. But like I said, if it stays close to these levels as it comes into the open, I think this thing's probably gonna make a move. So this is gonna be the one that I'm watching coming into the open. I'll also be watching GameStop just to see, which way it ends up breaking. I could see it coming back up, but to reclaim like that entire move that it made yesterday is gonna be a struggle. Right now, it's sitting $85 down from where it was at the start of yesterday. I don't know if it's gonna make that whole move back. Definitely at least try a little bit. I'll take a trade on it if it starts going. 9 o'clock, nothing really new popped up on news. Still just watching the same old stuff. Really, the only thing that's been moving at all entire morning from 7:30 until now is CanF. And this thing it's been fighting for it, man. For how low of a float it is, it's a 15 million share float. It's taken a significant amount of volume to actually move. I find very strange. It's like we traded 3 million shares of volume in this 5-minute candle back here, and it moved 5 cents. 3 million shares is a fifth of its total. Just kind of crazy. Five-minute candle closing in 30 seconds. If this 5-minute candle closes below 4, great. I want to see it pop up above 4 if we want to Still be looking strong. Got 10 seconds. Be holding pretty firmly. Closed at 398. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of selling coming into the next 5-minute candle. It's just unfortunate. This thing has just been moving completely sideways. Not really too much to do with it right now. But definitely the one to watch coming into the open, as opposed to everything else. I mean, nothing's been doing anything this morning. In the last 45 minutes, we've only really had like 2 stocks pop up on the scanners, and both of them have done essentially nothing. Quite unfortunate. What are you gonna do? Alright, probably cut the stream a little early today just because nothing's going on. I don't like trading coming into the open. I'm definitely not going to take a trade on CanF now coming into the open until we actually see better volume coming into it. Because I'm not trying to trade these 5 or 10 cent moves that it's making. So, happy trading, everyone. Hope everyone does well today. Let you guys know how everything goes with me this morning.